Hey guys, Trudy here from It's the True Story, and today I have babies on my mind. That's because I just spent a weekend with my niece Addie, and she's a baby, and she's adorable, and I thought to myself, it's such a bummer that I won't be able to do the thing I love to do with babies the most with her because I live far away. And what is that thing I love to do? I love reading books to children. And not just children, but you too, because I had this great idea that I would read one of my favorite stories of all time from one of my favorite books of all times, which is a book called Free to Be You and Me. I have a story that I want to read, Addie, and I want to read you too, and it's one of my favorites. It's a story called Atalanta, okay? So it's written by a woman named Betty Miles. Here's Atalanta, and here's her story. It's also very Game of Thronesy, by the way, and so it's that time of year. Once upon a time, not long ago, there lived a princess named Atalanta, who could run as fast as the wind. She was so bright and so clever and could build so many things and fix things so wonderfully that many young men wished to marry her. "What shall I do?" said Atalanta's father, who was a powerful king. "So many young men want to marry you. I don't know who to choose." Like as if he had to choose, right? "You don't have to choose, father," Atalanta said. "I will choose, and I'm not sure I will choose to marry anyone at all." That was like really groundbreaking, Al. "Of course you will," said the king. "Everyone gets married. It's what people do." But Atalanta told him with a toss of her head, "I intend to go out and see the world. When I come home, perhaps I will marry, and perhaps I will not." The king did not like this at all. He was a very ordinary king. That is, he was powerful and used to having his own way. So he did not answer Atalanta, but simply told her, "I've decided how to choose the young man you'll marry. I will hold a great race, and the winner, the swiftest, fleetest young man of all, will win the right to marry you." Now, Atalanta was a clever girl, as well as a swift runner. She saw that she might win both the argument and the race, provided that she herself could run in the race too. "Very well," she said, "but you must let me race along with the others. If I am not the winner, I will accept the wishes of the young man who is." See, this is the king being all kingy and telling her she has to get married. Whatever, dude. The king agreed to this. He was pleased. He would have his way, marry off his daughter, and enjoy a fine day of racing as well. So he directed his messengers to travel throughout the kingdom, announcing the race with its wonderful prize, the chance to marry the bright Atalanta. As the day of the race drew near, flags were raised in the streets of the town, and banners were hung near the grassy field where the race would be run. Baskets of ripe plums and peaches, wheels of cheese, ropes of sausages and onions, and loaves of crusty bread were gathered for the crowds. Meanwhile, it's all about a race. This reminds me of the Boston Marathon, where everyone gets hammered while they watch athletes do amazing feats, and it's kind of genius. Okay. Meanwhile, Atalanta herself was preparing for the race. Each day at dawn, dressed in soft green trousers and a shirt of yellow silk, she went to the field in secret and ran across it, slowly at first, then fast and faster, until she could run the course more quickly than anyone had ever run it ever before. As the day of the race grew nearer, young men began to crowd into the town. Each was sure they could run the prize, except for one. That was young John, who lived in the town. He saw Atalanta day by day as she brought nails and wood to make pigeon houses, or choose parts for her telescope, or laugh with her friends. Young John saw the princess only from a distance. Yikes! But near enough to know how bright and clever she was. He wished very much to race with her, to win, and to earn the right to talk with her and become her friend. For surely, he said to himself, it's not right for Atalanta's father to give her away to the winner of the race. Atalanta herself must choose the person she wants to marry, or whether she wishes to marry at all. Still, if I could only win the race, I would be free to speak with her and ask for her friendship. Each evening after his studies of the stars and the seas, young John went to the field in secret and practiced running across it. Night after night he ran fast as the wind across the twilight field until he could cross it more quickly than anyone had ever crossed it before. At last the day of the race arrived. Trumpets sounded in the early morning, and the young men gathered in the edge of the field along with Atalanta herself, the prize that they sought. The king and his friends sat in soft chairs. Of course they did, because they're not working out. And the townspeople stood along the course. The king rose to address them all. "Good day," he said to the crowds. "Good luck," he said to the young men. And to Atalanta he said, "Goodbye. I must tell you farewell, for tomorrow you'll be married." Like, really, dude? "I am not so sure of that, father," Atalanta answered. She was dressed for the race in trousers of crimson and a shirt of silk as blue as the sky, and she laughed as she looked up and down the line of young men. "Not one of them," she said to herself, "can win the race, for I will run as fast as the wind and leave them all behind." And now a bugle sounded, a flag was dropped, and the runners were off. And there they go. They are seriously running. The crowds cheered as the young men and Atalanta began to race across the field. At first they ran as a group, but Atalanta soon pulled ahead, with 3 of the young men close after her. As they neared the halfway point, one young man put on a great burst of speed and seemed to pull ahead for an instant, but then he gasped and fell back. Atalanta shot on. Soon, another young man, tense with the effort, drew near Atalanta. He reached out as though to touch her sleeve, stumbled for an instant, and then lost speed. Atalanta smiled as she ran on. I've almost won, she thought. But then another young man came near. This was young John, running like the wind, as steadily and as swiftly as Atalanta herself. Atalanta felt his closeness, and in a sudden burst she dashed ahead. Young John might have given up at this, but he never stopped running. Nothing at all, he thought, will keep him from winning the chance to speak to Atalanta. And on he ran, swift as the wind, until he ran as her equal, side by side with her, toward the golden ribbon that marked the race's end. Atalanta raced even faster to pull ahead, but young John was a strong match for her. Smiling with the pleasure of the race, Atalanta and young John reached the finish line together, and together they broke through the golden ribbon. Trumpets blew. The crowd shouted and leaped about. The king rose. "Who is that young man?" he asked. "It's young John from the town," the people told him. "Very well, young John," said the king, as John and Atalanta stood before him, exhausted and jubilant from their efforts. "You've not won the race, but you came closer to winning than any other man here, and so I give you the prize that was promised, the right to marry my daughter." Young John smiled at Atalanta, and she smiled back. "Thank you, sir," said young John to the king, "but I could not possibly marry your daughter unless she wished to marry me. I have run this race for the chance to talk with Atalanta, and if she's willing, I'm ready to claim my prize." Atalanta laughed with pleasure. "And I," she said to John, "could not possibly marry before I've seen the world, but I would like nothing better than to spend the afternoon with you." The two of them sat and talked on the grassy field as the crowds went away. They ate bread and cheese, which is why they're amazing, and plums, and purple plums. Atalanta told John about her telescopes and her pigeons, and John told Atalanta about his globes and his studies of geography. At the end of the day, they were friends. On the next day, John sailed off to discover new lands, and Atalanta set off to visit the great cities. By this time, each of them has had wonderful adventures and seen marvelous sights. Perhaps someday they'll be married, and perhaps they will not. In any case, they're friends, and it is certain that they are both living happily ever after. That is why Free to Be You and Me is a kick-ass book. I hope you enjoyed that story. I hope Addie loved the story too. And I want to tell you, if you liked it, please like, subscribe. I'm here every first and third Thursday of the month, and I do things so you don't have to. So today we read a story, and next time, who knows? Tell me in the comments what stories you loved as a kid, and maybe that could be next. We don't know, but we'll see. Bye.